Hi everyone, Chris Natzke here with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching with your Mind of a Champion tip of the week. You know, the more of these video blogs I do, the more that I realize, despite my intentions of wanting to do these for other people, I realize oftentimes I'm doing them for myself. And what do I mean by that? I'm doing them to remind myself of the things that I'm talking about. We all have our own skills, we all have our own strengths, but we all have our own weaknesses and areas of opportunity, to be clear. And I certainly have my fair share of my own. And one of the things that I found, again, in reflection this week, that have one of the greatest areas of opportunity in is getting time to rest. I know about you, but I tend to absolutely fill my schedule so tightly. And I can rationalize to myself why I do this. I oftentimes say, it's because I love my work. I love to coach, I love to speak, I love to teach martial arts and empower others. And that's really true. But what I've realized as I've been reflecting on it this week is that many times the reasons that I'm keeping my schedule so very full is out of scarcity. I'm afraid I'm going to miss an opportunity. I'm afraid if I'm not working it hard enough, someone else will. And, generally speaking, is when I really get honest with myself, that generally doesn't work. I mean, it works to a degree because we have to work and we have to work toward our goals and we have to stay active. But at the same time, we need to give ourselves time to rest, time to recover, and time to reflect. And it made me think about something that happened with me about 20 years ago already. I was getting ready to test for my 6th degree black belt. And this for me was at the time, as you might imagine, one of the biggest martial arts up until that time that I've ever done in martial art events. And I had been bringing my instructors in from across the country. I had a gym full of students watching. I had all the Denver area master instructors that I knew coming to watch. And so I was really training hard for this event. In fact, probably up until that time, I hadn't trained for anything harder and just was really giving it my all. But about a month away from that event, I started to really feel depleted. I started to break down. I just didn't have the energy in my workouts, much less just my regular life. And so what I did is I made an appointment with my good friend, the late Dr. Gil Greiner, who was a doctor homeopath. And Gil was he had become a great friend of mine. He was an athlete himself. He was a former Mr. Colorado bodybuilder. So he had a way of talking to me that I could kind of get through where maybe others wouldn't. And he was doing his testing with me and taking me through all of the procedures that he would take me through. And he looked up from his computer and he looked me square in the eye and he said, "Man, you are getting ready for a major injury." He said, "You're training way too hard." He goes, "You're gonna do something really bad, like maybe even tear a hamstring." He said, "You have to slow it down." And of course, when I heard that, I got really defensive and I said, there's no way I can slow down. I'm going to be testing in a month. I have all these instructors coming in town. I've got all my students watching. I can't slow down. And he looked at me and he said, "I'm getting that if you held it to about 100 kicks a week, you'd be okay for this test." And I said, "Oh, well, 100 kicks a day, I guess I could do that." Now, to put in perspective, my workouts were around 800 to 1,200 kicks an hour when I was working out. So this was a tremendous decline. But he said, "No, a week." And I realized how serious he was when he said that. And so I agreed to it. And he said, "Chris, you need to remember one thing. Rest is part of your training. Rest is part of your training." Now, up until then, I had never even considered that to be true. But as I reflect on it, that he had such amazing words of wisdom, and it's ones that I know that I can listen to on a greater extent today, as well as I hope you can as well, particularly as we are going by day after day and not having time for downtime. So anyway, these are 3 things that I'm committing to do moving forward. Sometimes I do them, sometimes I don't, but I'm really committing moving forward, and I hope you consider these too, because they're going to help you moving in your direction you want to in life as a leader, as a member of your family, as a spouse, whatever that is, to get the best results you want. And the first one is get adequate sleep. I know that's hard. And I know that oftentimes we wear as a badge of honor the lack of sleep that we get because we're working so hard. But for me, it's about 7.5 to 8 hours a night. When I get that, I'm feeling great. And it reminds me, as you may have all heard that it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. We've all heard that. But what many people haven't heard is that along with that study, they found that those people that devoted those 10,000 hours on average got about 8.36 hours of sleep per day. maybe not in an extended period of time, but actually not 8.36, 10.36. 10.36 hours of sleep a day. Now that wasn't consecutively, but that was sleeping at night and then also resting during the day and taking quick naps. So anyway, where do you have an opportunity to get better sleep in your life? Number 2 is plan your downtime. Man, this is the hardest one for me. Nature abhors a vacuum, right? And if I have a space on my calendar, oftentimes I'm filling it. But if it's important, is there a time where you can plan your downtime? You know, like taking an hour in an afternoon and just taking a walk or whatever thing that you love to do in your life. Just make sure you schedule it, because if you don't schedule it, you're going to fill that time with something else. And then finally is this: take time each day to just be. Take time each day to just be. You know, the urban legend is that Thomas Edison, probably one of our greatest inventors of all time, used to spend time each afternoon fishing. But what many people didn't know is he never baited the hook. He would just toss it out and he'd watch the bobber, but that was time for him to have some downtime. And what he claims is that's where some of his best ideas came. So where do you have a time to just be? Is it meditation? Is it a walk? Is it a drink of tea or coffee during the day? But take some time to let your apple juice settle. So anyway, that's what I had for you today. That's what I had for me today. As I know, moving forward, this is such an important thing, is where do we have opportunities to take greater downtime? Because remember, rest is part of your training and it's part of your success. And one last thing, everybody, thanks so much for continuously supporting these, your comments, your likes, your shares. And this is the last week I'm going to offer this, but if you look below, there's a link for my online program. It's a special discounted price of 50%. If you're interested in looking at my online program, the Mind of a Champion online program, 8 weeks to creating a life of power, passion, and purpose, you get it down below. Last week I'm going to offer this for a while at a discounted price. So if you're interested, take a look. Anyway, this has been Chris Natzke with Black Belt Leadership, Speaking and Coaching, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week.